Hi there, my name is Typical T. Welcome to another relaxing long play of Manor Lords. Today we continue to expand our new nation, settling a new region and making progress towards a stronger trade network. So, without further ado, make yourself comfortable and join me as we forget about the stresses of the day and lose ourselves to the music and movement of a medieval city builder. With the conflicts over and the brigands safely swept from our shores, we can focus on continued growth and expansion. I'm pretty happy with how things are going over here at the moment. Really the next thing is to start gathering some of our own iron to really kickstart the production of tools. We've got some iron slabs now, but really we need more than one set of tools for maintenance and to really start building new structures. But for now we've got 1.5k influence, so what I'd quite like to do next is claim an additional region. I think I've more or less settled on Angstras, and that's because there's a rich resource node of stone. It's just south of our adversary up here, so while being close to our border with Crosscheck. The other rich stone deposit is up here, and while it does have a bridge to protect it from our enemy, we potentially will end up cut off. But I can't like to go down here. We can play with the rich stone deposit, and perhaps here is where we could build our first border fort, a manor that will border, if not Badlands, then maybe even our adversaries should they expand. So let's claim this with influence and get that underway. And at some point, presumably, the AI is going to start expanding further. Notice there's some abandoned buildings down here, but I think they are from a time long since past. So, without further ado, let's crack on. We've got 21 roof tiles. And we've got no clay, so we are making that clay into roof tiles as soon as it becomes available. Let's pop over here and see about opening up an additional mine. We'll pop that there and we'll connect this up via road. We've got the planks now to build a bridge, so we'll do that here, connecting onto our existing road. Still allowing the eel to come up to their watering grounds, their breeding grounds, so that we can snag them and turn them into tasty treats. We're doing okay for food. We've got 8 months in food and fuel is sat at 10 months, so that's plenty. And although it's only March, again, with only 488 in the treasury, until we have taxation set up, I don't really want to expand into the next region, because that will deplete our funds which we need, potentially, to hire in militia to further defend us if needed. So how is our fuel made up? We've now got the charcoal open, so we can see we are starting to produce a bit of charcoal, as well as using the firewood. And we've got a little bit of income coming in, but until we're not consistently buying in iron ore, it's gonna keep draining. Really, we do need to just get up there with trade of our roof tiles to start getting a bit of money, but as you can see, we've got a desired surplus of 25 and we're only at 21 at the minute, so we're not quite there. We've got 52% on productivity, but we are waiting around a little bit, so I don't think we need to add any additional traders at our trading post for the time being. I don't think that is our limiting factor. And we still have people moving in. We've got a 76% approval rating for the first time, so we are actually going to see multiple families moving in per month. With that in mind, we are going to need to keep on top of housing, and when we can as well, we want to be opening up new burgish plots and turning them productive. So what do we have planted over here? We've got a vegetable garden producing beets. So it'd be nice over here to produce something else, so we'll wait for a little bit more money to come in before we do that. And while we do that, we'll expand the living space there. And we're also going to expand the living space of these new dwellings up here where we can. Just so that we do not need to expand too quickly, and there we go. Hangstrass has been claimed. And now the question is, what do we settle first? I think probably still Frostcheck, because I do want to be getting that farming going so we can barter barley between Frostcheck and Brunbach. With 40% there on constructing our iron mine. And how are we doing at the bloomery? We are indeed producing iron. And I imagine we're already working our way through our iron ore, down to 0, but we've got 11 iron slabs. So our smithy should be working on making tools. Oh dear, they were set to make spears. And that would explain why we didn't have so many tools sat around. But we've only got 2 spears, so it's not the end of the world. They will get to making tools instead. I don't think we need to set any production limits for that for the time being, except to say that maybe we don't need more than a set number of tools at any given time. But I think we are going to need a lot, so I'm going to set this at 100. It's going to take a long time to reach that, but I certainly don't want to be going past that initially. And now that we have our mine open, let's get someone working here. And we will increase the maintenance because we know how susceptible our mines are to collapsing. We'll pop a couple of people working over there so that hopefully we get a bit of a rebate on how much iron ore we need to buy in. Let's get some cabbage planted over here. These may be 2 areas we turn into small holdings if we find that they're not getting enough time to plant everything up, because they are 2 of our largest vegetable patches so far. And I'm now starting to think that it might be high time we constructed our manor. As for where we're going to construct our manor, we could do it on the border with here, but that is our realm. We could do it on the border up here, which isn't currently ours. Or we could place it right here overlooking the lake. In fact, we could do it on this corner here. And that might be quite an impressive fortification. So why don't we do that? Let's take a road off from our church. And we'll just bring it straight across here. Over to the cliffs. It is relatively close to our clay deposit, so I don't think it's actually going to get in the way, but let's double check that. We'll keep working down this iron deposit until we don't need to have anyone assigned over there any longer. A quick check. Brigands. We have some brigands we can deal with. Right on the border of our adversary, and they don't do a thing about it. So in Nasvice, so Hangstrass or Trummer would be good locations to hire in mercenaries. And there we go. Some nice cheap mercenaries in Hangstrass. So we'll move them in to deal with the brigands, boost our influence, and boost our coffers. Never let it be said that brigands don't have their uses. So there's still a good amount of waiting happening down here at the trading post. I'm not terribly worried about the fact that we have other people working there. Seems that we do. We're up to 10 months with food and 12 with fuel. So we're certainly making progress in terms of stabilisation. It's nice to see our level 2 homes. The army approaches the border. They're well rusted. Let's take them in a bit further. We'll pop them in there. We'll pop the spearmen out front. hold our infantry in reserve, form a shield wall, take these guys into the flank, and attack from behind, and they're slaughtered. Nice and easily done. We'll stroll over to the bandit camp. And this belongs to my treasury now. Thank you very much. Check there's no other use for you men. I may even march you into enemy territory. Just to bare our teeth. Actually put them in that garden. Would be hilarious. I'd be very worried if I lived in this town. Another Baron's bannermen lining up in the orchard. Alright, we've showed our faces. Off we go. Hopefully they don't just disband and immediately go and work for that Baron. That'd be awkward, wouldn't it? Delivering Oathman to our enemy. Although, I say they're our enemy. They've never moved against us. They've not claimed anything on us. So perhaps I judged them too harshly. We have a decent amount of timber and plank. We can see that we have had our manor tower constructed. We're down to 3 available living spaces. So the next thing to do is probably to add some additional housing. And for that housing, I think we'll take along this road here. We'll not bisect it, I don't think. I don't think we need to. Let's go to residential. And see about filling this space here. Let's make each of these... Oh dear. Make a mistake. Misclicks are no one's friend. I wasn't quite sure whether I was happy with how that looked. What I might do is build it in 2 sections. Come across here to about halfway. Maybe even fill out to these. That's quite good. We can road along the back there then. And let's make these double dwellings. We might as well take a road up here and along the back. And then construct additional houses in this space here. And let's make these bigger. These we may make into small holdings. So let's make them into 2 very large small holdings if we're going to do that. Continue that road down there to the main road. It's almost like a sail, isn't it? A sail above our boat. Very fitting indeed. So our spare workmen will set to work there. We've still only reduced to 1 clay. What on earth are they spending all their time doing? Spending all their time in the extensions. And we also have a family that's cold. So that may be part of the issue. And it looks like we're having a bit of a problem getting enough charcoal and fuel supply out to our residences. Fuels, they've got firewood. Clothing, I think, is probably what they're missing. They're not very happy with that clothing. Which is, you know, understandable. So what can we do about that? We've produced some leather. So let's set one of these here. The tailor's workshop, production of clothes and cloaks and gambesons. And a cobbler's workshop to produce shoes. Let's make a cobbler's workshop to start with. And at our other pots, let's spend some of that money we've been trading in and get some goats in to these animal pens, so that we might continue to produce hides in order to produce more leather. And we've taken those foresters out because they're not doing any foresting in winter. That still leaves 8 for construction. So we'll go down here and look at where our new dwellings are going up. And already 4 of them are in place. And with the 2 larger farm residences beginning construction as well. And we actually have enough influence to claim another region. So the question is, Mandlach or Nasvice? So we have a rich wild animal deposit and rich berries here in Nasvice. And we have rich clay and rich salt in Mandlach. So I think we will take Nasvice. But even with influence, it's going to take us quite some time to fill up all these regions. Especially as we haven't started taxing this region yet, so we're not bringing in any income for our dear leader to our treasury. But that will all come in good time. So a bunch of construction finishing up there, which is grand. How are we doing for roof tiles? 26, so I think we really are struggling with clay production. I'm going to remove these families and add 2 in again. And I'm going to add 4 families over here to this mine pit. And maybe we'll start by taking care of the surface deposits. Already they've produced more clay. And down here. Something to be said for that. And we've claimed our next region as well, which is simply wonderful. As we head into January. Continuing to bring in money. So let's use that to hire in additional ox and upgrade those pens there. We're down to 48 iron available. See, our forest here is starting to grow. And when we have a bit more money as well. Trade available in 24 days. Well, let's open up a if we can find it, that is. Granary storehouse, trading post, back station, livestock trading post. And we just as well put this over right next door to the trading post, I think. And how are we doing for clay? We're already up to 19. So I really think there was something wrong with the deep mine here. And I'm actually going to remove those miners there. And instead we'll rely on our surface mine rather than the deep mine to harvest what's available to us. We'll come back to the deep mine in future. We've already got 41 roof tiles, so that does seem to be taking care of the problem. it may even be time to get an additional man working at the trading post to help bring those tiles across. We'll order another ox. And we've got some lambs and sheep we can start trading for as well. Should we open some pastures? It's going to be a little while until we can purchase some more goats. But at the very least, we should be starting. Oh, we're at 97 tools now as well, so we're nearly at that 100 tools. Food production still goes very well. We've got more charcoal than we have firewood now. And we are building up clay, a fair number of iron slabs. All proceeds well. And we've got some shoes as well. Now it might be nice as well to open up a Fletcher's at some juncture as well, so we can start to arm some of our men with bows. And as we come into March, let's start to think about opening a new settlement. So as for exactly where we're going to do that, we've got clay, fish, stone. Got a rich resource node here and just salt there. We may even skip frost check initially and open straight up in Hangstrass, where we have access to stone deposits. So let's settle here. I think we'll settle near the fish, close enough that we can get to the berries. So this will probably be a good location. So we'll go to Settlers Camp, pop that down here on the road. Modest starting supplies will be aplenty. Region settled, Hangstrass. And we'll start here as we have elsewhere by opening up a granary and a storehouse so that we can keep goods we've brought with us safe. And we'll do those just opposite so they haven't got far to move them. We'll set the priority for both of those to high. And then immediately after that, we'll set up our logging camp, which will also pop perhaps just above our granary and storehouse. So we'll pop a road there, and we'll pop a logging camp behind those, and we'll get them to work on that, speed time up a little bit. And then back over in Brunbach. -5 on available living spaces. I don't see how that can be possible. Yet it claims it anyway. It's +5, not -5. Up to 95 on wealth. And just in just a few days' time, our trader is going to arrive. And then we'll be able to order some additional goats. And already, they've completed construction of everything over here. So let's get 2 families working there. And 3 families working on logging. And tab back over to Brunbach. This mine is still operational, and they've made 20 so far this year already. Now winter is at an end as well. Let's get our foresters back to work. And we'll also set some foresters to work over here. And at Hangstrass, it looks like they're all but done moving resources in. So we can do away with those workmen. And once timber starts to come in, we can start to look towards some housing. But initially, let's get down a well. So we're going to have to come across here for that. So build a road across, place a well. We just as well take this road right the way across here. And we've 3 months of food, but in any case we are going to need to get some production here, so we'll pop down Fisherman's Hut. And we'll build a double road here. And we'll look to have housing on either side of this road. And that central space will allow us a little bit of room to put some food production, as well as have our well. We'll put a little interconnecting road there. And we'll do a few more of those interconnecting roads. Like so. See if we can't spread those out a little more evenly. I think that'll do. We're up to 9 timber, so let's build some housing. And perhaps we'll divide. Let's start by going on this side where there aren't quite so many trees. And we'll build 2 roads down to the King's Road. The one is the King's Road, and they're approximately the same length. And in between those, let's get some burger spots with nice big gardens to start with. And put 3 in there. And we'll put some smaller dwellings opposite without such big gardens. So I think we are going to need to bring in some additional logs before we can do this. We'll take off road snapping and see if we can get that set a little more evenly. Build those there. We'll take one of the families off from logging. We'll put him straight back onto fishing, and then we've got 2 people to help construct those houses. And it looks like we're ready for our first couple of upgrades here. Let's also start to think about expanding living space on these as well. The same for those 2, and they'll need vegetable deciding, and look at that. We're finally starting to pick up in regional wealth. Let's check on the clay furnace. And it looks like we could do with perhaps an additional worker here, so we'll assign one. And let's get an additional ox. It looks like we may have missed our trader. I don't think we need to set any hard limits up for the moment on shoes. How are we doing for supply? Still not fantastic, we definitely need to get to clothes. So for clothes production, we're probably going to need to buy in flax or yarn. We could also look to keep sheep, and then we'd have wool. So maybe we can make that one of our next endeavours. We go over to farming. So we'll get a sheep farm, we'll get wool from them. And then we can use that wool to produce yarn. And we can use yarn to do other most important things. So where to put our sheep farm? This is the area we're reforesting. Literally this area here might be a good location. So we'll set this to snaps of roads. And we'll build a road across the rear here. And we'll pop down our sheep farm. And then we'll build a sheep pasture to go here. Or maybe even further back from the village proper. And we'll fill this space here with pasture land for our sheep. And we'll keep an eye out when we can get some additional oxen. Let's head back over here. Looks like construction is going well. Let's also then set up an area for selling our goods in the form of a marketplace. And we'll pop this in between our housing. And we just as well pop a little road across there as well. We don't need to expand those living spaces just yet, but we can do so on those two. And we're well away on producing logs. We have some food hopefully coming in from the fishermen's huts. We would, if everyone who was working there wasn't sick. Let's change the family working on that. And a few more houses over here, ready for upgrading to next level, which is good for us because it means more income. The mining pit is still going strong. And we still have plenty of clay deposits on the ground as well. Charcoal fires burn away. Foresters are foresting. All is well. Another house ready for upgrading. So we'll get that going. 76% approval, 8 living spaces, 10 months of supplies. Such a prosperous place. And let's order in some goats. And while we're doing that, we'll get another ox. And let's set these up for farms. And let's, just as soon as we can, set up the outsides of these properties here. The trees. But we'll do these slightly inner ones as well. Oops. I might have to change that one. I guess maybe on the outside we could do vegetable plots. And do orchards on the inside. You can grow pears. You can do honey. You can do quinces. And you can as well. Just as soon as we're spending our money, we're getting a bit more in as well. As the clay furnace getting along. 89% productivity, not amazing. But so long as we're producing a good number of roof tiles, I'm not too fussed. Let's get some cabbages, or some carrots rather, going over here. And let's go check on our other village. hang stress. It looks like construction of the homes is going well here. Reduce the number of people available in the logging camp and get a storehouse and a granary worker. And we'll leave construction for there to continue, while also opening up ready to harvest some logs. Wood, firewood, logs for wood, yes. That's pretty self-explanatory, isn't it? Without us needing to say anything. So it's quite nice now to see we're starting to flesh out what we have here. All the burgish plots are becoming useful. Money continues to come in. But we do have a bit of a plank shortage. That isn't easily solved. This clay mine really has done quite a lot better than the other. And we're still getting people moving into hang stress. So let's start to think about upgrading some of these dwellings to allow for a greater number of personages to live within them. And we're ready to select our perk. So I think this is pretty self-explanatory here. We're going to be going for Strasbourg Masons. Our hands were tempered on the spires of Strasbourg, each cut of stone a step towards heaven. Though the work fell silent, our craft did not. With the same measure and the same will, we will raise walls to endure for generations. Improved stonemason station, reduced castle planner cost, ox handler speed increase. Decreased labour speed for hunting and fishing. Not ideal for fishing in this region, but it's where we have our strong stone deposit. Okay, and let's get our first worker at the woodcutter's lodge there as well. And we have the startings here of a prosperous small settlement. Small village at the moment that will become larger. And we have Grumbach sitting at a large village. Soon we're going to have to start thinking about importing some alcohol or something and getting up to level 3. So we're starting to get a bit of income now to our regional wealth, which is coming from our clay mines, which we're using to produce roof tiles and then sell on. So if we go and take a look at these houses, what do we need? So we've fulfilled the foraged goods and vegetable grains etc. with carrots and beetroots. We've got fuel in the form of firewood. We've got meats and fishes in the form of fish. And we've also got, we need animal produce or fruits. So one thing we could potentially do for that is we could set up a forager to start getting hold of the berries. It's not terribly far away now. Connect a road up from our iron mine. Another possible solution would be to get the trees online. So these burgish plots, I'm not sure there's a way we can tell, in fact 49%, how old these trees are, but certainly the first 3 we planted here are getting on a bit. So hopefully it's not going to be too long before we're producing fruits from our orchards, so that will take care of that immunity. We need to increase our church level, and we need beverages and clothing. So for clothing we've started our sheep endeavour, so we've got our sheep farm. So let's add a worker here, and let's go over to our livestock trader, and we want to import, let's say 6 sheep and 6 lambs. That is going to take the majority of our income for the time being. And then we're going to want to start making some mortar, which is going to allow us to upgrade our church. So how do we go about doing that? The charcoal kiln, the bloomery, the smithy, stonemason station, and a lime kiln. So let's build a lime kiln, and let's put this over here. Not inside of our sheep pen, for certain. Let's pop it there. That lime kiln is going to give us the mortar we need to upgrade the church. We're also going to need dressed stone, which we're probably going to have to buy in. So if we go to trade, we get dressed stone, it's 350 to establish a trade route. So is there a way we can buy in crude stone? Rough stone. So it is cheaper, but it still comes at a cost, so we're still probably a little way off that. But at least we can start getting some wool in. And then let's go to one of our plots up here. And all these here have got small holding pens. We've not actually selected one for here yet, so let's change this to a tailor's workshop. And the tailor's workshop will allow us to start making some clothes once we get to that point. So we'll convert that. And then we'll go into here as well, and we'll pop down a weaver's workshop. And to do that, let's take a road coming into the back here and pop a weaver's workshop down just here next to our sheep pasture, just like so. So that's some progress we're making here towards getting some level 3 burgish plots, at least everything we can do domestically. So let's head on over here. So we've got fuel for 2 months and food for 8. Let's get an additional ox ordered. Let's get an additional worker at the woodcutter's lodge. We've got 7 available living spaces. And we've got 6 assigned families and 1 unassigned. And we've still got a fair bit of construction going as well. Let's add a hitching post so we've got somewhere to put that ox when he arrives. Pop that just down here. Pretty soon we're going to want to start getting a stone here. And as for the burgish plots, we're going to want 1 for vegetable garden and others for trees, etc. for fruits, and get them planted pretty early. But for the time being, let's get a saw pit ready so that we have the planks available to us when the time comes for grading. There's enough stable space, yes indeed. Let's up the priority of the hitching post to the highest priority to make sure that that's ready. Head back over to Brunbach. So we can assign some jobs down here. So let's get an apiary. And with these others, let's get some animal pens. And this one, we'll put a small orchard in, just for a little bit of variety. And plenty of timber and a decent number of planks. And how are we doing over here? So we have someone working at the sheep farm. We don't have anyone just yet, sheepy wise. They've yet to arrive. The weaver's workshop is under construction, and as is the lime kiln. So progress all moving in one direction. Let's extend the road. Let's curve it off past here, heading across to the berries. We'll curve that a little bit as well. Build out to there. And that gives us a route to put our forager hut, should we want to get some berries in. And how are we doing here? 51% productivity. He's well and truly off and about, isn't he? Doesn't seem to be doing much. Well, in that case, let's unassign and reassign. And hope that does the job. I'm afraid you might be here forever now, friend. Never mind. Got 11 months of food, 15 of fuel, so we've plenty of resources. Let's just check, is there anything we can be doing with all that honey? Don't believe so. It's probably just going into the general market. Raise shrubbery. We certainly don't want to be doing that. It would be good as well to get a bower's shop. Let's get rid of that weird floaty thing there. A bower's shop there for construction. And down here we'll pop a joiner's workshop so we can start making some shields perhaps to start selling. And then we're going to probably increase our logging capacity. Still growing over here. There's still people looking for places to plant trees. Let's make their work area a bit smaller and see if we can't get them to increase the density of planting over there. And then let's also get these chaps here to do some planting in here for us. And we're going to put down an additional logging camp. And we'll run a little road across here, following the riverbank. Like so. And we'll pop a logging camp here. And we're going to employ an additional worker at a saw pit. And let's get an additional ox ordered. And that should get maintained now that we have plenty of tools available. And we should be continuing to sell roof tiles. In fact, let's stop selling planks, and instead we're going to open up trade for small shields as cheaper, so we might start with that. So down here, let's set our bow to make war bows, and our joiner to make small shields. How much is it to open a trade route for wooden parts? 400, so the same as the small shield, so we'll make the small shields initially and start to build up a stockpile, and because we're not selling the planks in their raw form, we're going to make them into something else. That should allow us to make a little bit more for our money. And we've got a family working away on that while we build up some stockpiles before we can actually afford to open anything up. And hopefully our foresters here are hard at work doing some planting. But it doesn't look terribly like they are. And the same hopefully for these here. There are definitely open spots where I don't see trees. So I should certainly hope they are rectifying that. Let's go and check in on Hangstrasse. So we've had quite a few families move in. I said that. That is not the right zone. Let's see if we can't get that to update. Right. I think that might be one of the bugs we're catching from the new update to the game, but that's fine. Let's relocate this hitching post to be slightly more central. And how are we doing with these burgage plots? We've 4 available living space. Are any of these upgradable? Looks like we've already done all of the upgrading on those. So I think the next thing to do is we'll carry a road on straight down here. And we'll pop down a forager's hut here. And now we've got the saw pit open. We'll employ someone there to start working. And pretty early on as well, let's get a mine down on our iron ore. There's enough goods. Need a few more planks before we have that. So let's set a limit. We don't want to have a less than 15 timber at any one time. And we'll set them to work. Back up to Burenbach. We have 8 assigned families and 3 unassigned families. Which does seem to be the same wherever we are. So I'm going to pop a quick reload of the save. Yeah, definitely a slight problem with that on the new version of the game. But we can see we've got 53 assigned families and 5 unassigned for our main settlement here. So we'll focus on that, and hopefully in a future update of the game they'll take care of that small bug. In any event, we're well supplied, we're well stocked, and we're making good progress. So let's get a couple of additional families working at the new logging camp. And how are we doing for clay? Looks like we could definitely do with a little more clay. Clay furnace. We're spending a little bit of our time waiting. Let's get an additional family working at the deep mine and see if we can actually get any clay out of this yet. Or whether we're still experiencing a little bit of a bug with that as well. Looks like we brought in a fair bit of wealth just recently, which is lovely to see. So hopefully soon, and there we have it, a sheep, our very first sheep. I shall call you Dolly. I certainly have no intention of cloning you, hee hee. Oh, 2 sheep, wonderful. Sheep incoming, so we've got wool. So let's go over to the weaver's workshop and hire a family to work here. And they're going to turn wool into something more useful. I have no idea what yet. And if we go down here to our a weaver's workshop. So they can produce clothes, woolen clothes from yarn, which is what we're going to be producing from our sheep. So they're set up ready to do that. So let's head on over to our other settlement. Hangstress. It's a bit of a guess with this bug how many people we've actually got available to work here, but we won't dwell on that too much. We've got planks coming in, and with planks coming in we can construct the iron mine. We'll take a road straight from there to here, and we'll also connect that across there. And then we're going to want a bloomery so we can smelt said iron with the ultimate aim of making more tools. And let's pop a road across the back here and pop our bloomery just down there. Ooh, it looks like we've actually updated, so 4 unassigned and 8 assigned. So we have a fair number of people available to do construction, which is great, which means we can actually get a few people working at the mining pit pretty much straight away. We've only got 1 available living space left, so I think it would be a good time to put down some additional burgage pots. And I'm going to make these ones even larger than the last ones, with the aim of having these as orchards. So pop those there, and then we might even pop some denser properties on this side. In fact, let's take it right up to that bit of road there. That's it. So plenty of construction for them to be getting on with there. And let's head back over to Brunbach, and then I think we're just going to have to wait a little while for the bar up here to update with our assigned families, etc. Minus 75. Costly, I'd imagine that's more sheep coming in. Yep, got 6 out to pasture now. Lovely to have some sheep. Let's get someone working at the lime kiln. Let's keep a reserve of, say, 30 rubble. And there we can see it's updated now, so 4 available living space. 12 stolen by bandits? Bandits have returned. 2 camps of bandits. Obviously I've not been paying close enough attention. So, Mundluck and Haderwood. Let's have a look at getting some mercenaries in. 2 units of archers might be risky, so we will take the good old Battle Brothers, and we will just have to travel them up to take care of our foes for us, because they stole some of our fleeces, and that's just not on, is it? So we'll take you straight up and we'll deal with a camp at a time. we'll march you up here initially. In fact, you should be able to cope with them on your own, really. So what we'll do is we'll send you both in different directions, and you can both deal with a bandit camp on your own. So monthly migration is +1 at the moment. So it used to be 75% for 2, but it looks like it's actually probably 80% now. We could probably help increase that by getting some berries in, but it's nearly the end of the season, so I'm not going to worry about that now. We can see we've actually exhausted the pit here, so let's get those workers back and demolish the pit. And we'll get rid of that road. Oh dear, I rather deleted our bridge there, didn't I? So let's reconnect it. Oh dear. Well, it's safe to say the game didn't like us deleting this road and reforming it, so I think I'm rather going to leave it there this time. So we've gone back in time a little bit, but not too far. Right. So it looks like we've started producing those small shields. We have rather spent all of our regional wealth on importing sheepies. And we're probably now at the point where we're starting to import iron ore again as well. So let's go into the trading post and let's go over here and we'll set surplus for iron ore to 10. And we'll go over here and we'll leave sheep 3 for the time being to give us an opportunity to build up a little bit more regional wealth. We'll plant some orchards there. Well, ready. Lovely autumn is setting in our trees here. They look lovely even in the rain. We probably do as well need to get these set up properly. Now let's get you converted to a small holding because this is quite a large area even for 2 families to work on. We'll probably do the same for this one here once we set that as a vegetable type. Let's get someone working at the lime kiln and the weaver's workshop. So where does that leave us? Hopefully that leaves us somewhere on the way to producing some clothing, which should help keep people a little happier and take care of the little clothing checkbox here, which is going to increase our approval, which will increase our immigration. We can work on the church by getting that mortar ready, and then we can also work on beverages a little bit later on once we've got some more secure income, we've got some fruit, and we're selling a few more goods like the shields and the gears. Once we're doing that, we can probably start to think about buying in some alcohol to keep people lovely and merry. So with that in mind as well, we are pretty soon going to want to settle here. And it looks like as well something else that was forgotten was our military force. So looks like we are going to in the end hire a couple of units of archers. We're going to arrive in completely the wrong place. So we'll have to start marching them up here. And with 2 units of archers we'll have to send them one at a time against the enemy. And how are we doing here? So we've got 6 warbows, so as we produce more warbows we can start to raise some of our own units. And they're spending a lot of their time here waiting. So how are we doing for planks? We've got loads and loads of planks, so why are you waiting for planks? Who knows? You're obviously just very lazy. So hopefully they pick up the beat a little bit and start producing a few more war bows. And we'll pop an animal pen into that space there. We've not actually got anyone living here yet. But because we committed that to a small holding, we are a little short on unassigned families, but that's fine. So let's pop over to Hangstress. And we've got a couple of those baggage blocks complete, and they're working on the others. We've got the mine up here under construction. And the bloomery as well. And we've 8 months, we've got plenty of fuel, and we've got a decent amount of food as well. So we can probably unassign a woodcutter here. And how are we doing for planks and for lumber? We've got a reasonable number of planks and of lumber. But let's reassign someone from the saw pit and send them over to help at the logging camp. And that still leaves us with 5 unassigned families to continue construction work. And we see here that the archers are moving into position. Trade is still ongoing, even with our 1 regional wealth. And our manor presides over our budding large village. Hopefully they gather in those supplies, we don't want to waste those. And let's construct a forager's hut here, just in case we do want to start gathering in some berries next year. And it looks like a reasonable spread of oxen. How are we doing here? Yeah, we've got a couple plantings, so hopefully they're increasing the density. We may even turn off their limited work zone at some point, but then again, there's not much point in them planting in here. And how are we doing with these ones? A couple of planting, the others are working at home. So that's fine. We've loads and loads of planks. We're a little low on timber. We're making a reasonable number of wall bows. We're getting there with the small shields. And look at that, clothing. That just ticked up to 1. So obviously we've started making some yarn from wool, and we're turning that yarn straight into clothes. We've got a little surplus of shoes now as well. Even though we are turning the hide and leather straight into them, so it's not exactly hanging around. We had a little bit of money come in there. I'm going to spend that pretty much straight away. What are we actually planting on this farm here? I don't know, because we're a small holding. We might be planting more than one type of vegetable. It looks like carrots at the moment. But let's put cabbages in here and also convert that to a small holding. And reasonably soon we're going to need to start thinking about adding some additional living space. And maybe that'll be when we start moving over to this side of the river. So let's put a road that more or less follows the curvature of the river. I think that might be a quite nice way to make this look a little bit more organic. Let's have it curved but not too curved. And let's do the same on this side of the bank. That's nice. And let's add an additional bridge across the middle of those two, so we're better connected. And we might as well follow the line here, so that we're connected all the way along both sides of the riverbank. And as we move into October, we can see that our settlement has grown quite significantly from when we first started. We're certainly very busy over here now. We've really filled that initial starting space, which is nice to see. Over in Hagstrass, High Street is being set up, with plenty of living space available for people to move in. And yeah, we've got the mine constructed, so let's get someone working in there. The bloomery is still under construction, and we're still okay for resources. So what we probably want to do over here now is get a stone gathering camp, and we'll set that here so they can start gathering some of that stone, and then we can start thinking about upgrading. So let's straight away upgrade our storehouse, because we're going to need that upgraded, and then we'll start moving towards construction of a church. And then after the church we can start to think about getting our next few upgrades in place, working towards that stone. Right, so let's go up to our archers. Fire at will. And let's line them up here. And we'll set them to give ground. Hopefully we can wipe out a fair number of them on their way over to us. So what we're going to do is we're going to split our forces, so hopefully only one of them gets attacked, and the other we can shoot the enemy in the back. So we'll just slowly push both up. I would say provoke the bandits, but don't appear to be any there. So I guess we'll just push straight in. And if none present themselves, then I guess it's an easy battle, being as there's no battle. And then we'll move on to the other bandit camp. So it belongs to my treasury. And then we'll head over, take on the other bandit camp. And set both to arrive over here. And hopefully we get that done before we have to pay their next lot of salaries. Now we've got 20 warbows and 21 small shields. We need to save up another 103 regional wealth, and we can open up a trade route for the small shields, which is going to be another nice source of income for us. And hopefully as well we get a bit of sheep breeding going on at some point. Probably we didn't buy all male or all female sheep. I trust that my villagers have more sense than to buy all of one sets of animal, so we actually get some breeding going on. And have we seen any fruit come? Yes, we've got 20 pears, 15 apples, 24 quinces, so actually we're getting in a fair number of fruits now as well, which is exciting. Let's get some pears planted here. Sincerely hope there's more trees than just those there in that area, but it looks like we're only half utilising this space here as well. At least we've got better utilisation there. And how are we doing for bringing out clay from the ground? Got a little bit of clay, but I'd still like to get some more, so let's get a worker in the deep mine there. And let's start to think about some additional housing. And actually, it's probably about time we started to think about some additional markets. So I'm going to build down here, a storehouse and a granary. And they're going to be the backbone of feeding this side of the river and possibly part of the town here as well. And then to that effect, we're going to install the market area. Perhaps we go across the front here. It might be quite pleasant. Yeah, that's lovely. We'll pop that there. Maybe we'll pop a small market in here as well. And let's also pop a water source down on this side. And our archers are almost into position. So we'll do something similar again. And maybe this time I'll actually see some combat. Provided there are anyone there. There are this time. So let's move one unit in here. Another unit here. And we'll stop just as soon as they're provoked. So let's speed time up a little bit, move our men into position. There we go. So it looks like this unit are going to engage first. And we'll move this unit in here to flank. And they should start opening fire pretty soon. Hopefully we can inflict decent casualties straight away. And we'll continue to move these chaps to outflank. And we'll shoot them in the back. We'll double our defense here. And there we go. Broken almost immediately. Don't think we're quite going to make it on not paying them twice. Oh well. Cost us 45, but we have managed to take out 2 bandit camps with them. And there we go. And that belongs to my treasury. We'll disband them and head back over to our home. As we head into the winter months. So we've got a little bit of timber, we've got loads of planks. I think it's probably about time that we upped our reserve at the saw pit. We want a surplus of 50 timber before we start making planks. And once we have that surplus, we'll look to make our new residential area over here. As for Hagstress, we have plenty of accommodation. Although we have started to fill it up pretty quickly. We're not going to expand the living space just yet, but we are going to construct a orchard here at each of these. And let's get a family working at the bloomery. And we're going to want to set one of these to work as a blacksmith. We need to increase the level for that. So we're going to need to get someone working at the stone gathering camp. And they're going to start supplying us with the stone that we need to build our first church. Let's double check we haven't already got everything we need. We do. So we'll get straight on and build this, I think. We'll just pop it down there. And then we'll just need to get some vegetables planted up. And that'll give us everything we need initially. So we'll build some vegetable gardens along here. We'll set that to a high priority so we can get that done. Hopefully 30 regional wealth is enough that we can get some vegetables planted here pretty much straight away, so we're on the right track from the set. There we go, and yeah, we'll get some beets planted there. Lovely. And as the first snows fall over Brumbach Boatland, we can see that we can now upgrade the granary as well, and the storehouse is well under construction. Just as we're down to 2 available living spaces, and we are increasing the amount of timber we have. And we just need the dressed stone now. But we still need to save up a little bit before we can buy in stone. And we're still trading those roof tiles. So let's start to think about where we're going to have housing over here. I think it might be quite nice to follow the line of the river. So let's come across like that. And I think these are going to be small holding plots. So let's come a little bit further back here. Like so. That looks good. And then let's pop a road along the back of those houses. Like so. And we'll add some more facing the manor, backing onto that road. Like so. And that should give us plenty of additional dwelling space. And we're up on Warbow, so let's go and raise our first militia with archers. So perhaps in future we won't have to rely quite so heavily on hiring people in to take care of bandits for us. And it's been a while since we've looked at the AI village, so we'll see what they're up to. And it looks like they've done essentially nothing, but there's the manor. I knew it must be somewhere. They appear to have done a bit of deforestation, but apart from that, in the deep, dark, spooky forest, things look pretty much the same over here. Certainly they're not as large as our town. They don't look much larger than our second settlement in Hangstrasse. Vegetable garden set up there. We've got the miner bringing in some iron ore, which is hopefully being turned into iron slabs pretty much straight away, which it is. The church has been constructed, so we're just waiting on the vegetables from the beets garden here before we can move along much further. And here we can see buildings starting to spring up on this side of the river, including completion hopefully of this granary before too long. And hopefully we'll be able to push above 80% before too long. It looks like we've actually run out of fish. No eel left because it's winter. Well, hopefully we'll be able to take care of that in the spring. But we may need to get a few working on piggies, so that we get a bit of additional meat coming in. And just as soon as some of these houses start to be occupied, we'll want to get someone working in the storehouse and granary as well to take care of those living on this side of the river. We've had a family move in over here now, this small holding. So there'll be some additional vegetables being produced. And we don't need anyone working in those foresters' huts for the time being, so they can go and help with the construction. And as for roof tiles, we're making a reasonable number. But we still don't have a massive excess of clay. So we'll get an additional family working in the clay mines. And as for the lime kiln, we should have plenty of mortar set around ready. Yep, 56 mortar, so it's just the dressed stone we're waiting for there. We've got some coal in Brumbach. Why on earth are we cold? And where are we cold? Here. You've got fuel supply. And you do appear to be missing clothing though. So hopefully, as we start to gather more wool from our sheep in the spring and the summer, we can make more yarn and keep pressing on towards more wool. But like I say, we need to bring in a bit more income for that. Because at the moment we're just waiting to bring in a little bit more money so that we can open up trade on something else. And realistically, that's going to be on... one parts is 400. We could open up in yarn, but we're not producing an enormous amount of yarn. We don't want to use up our iron slabs because we had to import the iron ore. Shoes are an expensive trade route, so bring in a bit more money there. We could export war bows. That might be a good way to start because they're only 100 to open a trade route, whereas small shields are 400. So we're a little way off that at the moment, and the war bows might just get us there a little bit faster. So let's do that. Let's establish a trade route, and we're going to export, and we don't care for a surplus because really what we're after at the moment is financial stability, and we can build up additional militia later on. We don't need to worry about it too much at the moment. And we probably are going to want to make some additional spears and large shields as well, so that we can equip the rest of a spear militia unit as well. But again, at the moment we're just working towards having a bit more financial stability, so we're not going to worry about that too much at the moment. And we've got 50 timber, 490 planks, and we could start exporting some planks again, I suppose. So let's set that to export, and we want to have a surplus of 400 before we export any planks. And we have a bandit camp. And I think this time we don't really want to lose anyone from our settlement. Once we have a full unit of spear militia, then I'll consider using them in conjunction with our own archers rather than hiring anyone in. But for the time being, where's Tumaho? Not too far away. I think we'll leave the bandits for a minute and we'll see what bands become available to us for brigands in next month. And how are we doing on trade? So hopefully we're making some more money on planks again now, and spent on sheep, of which we're going to want to get more. 75% on the approval scales, and it's thawing out, so let's get some of those foresters working over there again. And I imagine this is becoming a very busy road up here to the church. And there we have it, some new mercenary companies available. So who do we have available to us? Lovely, so the Wayward Sons served us well previously, so we'll go with them again. And we'll march them all the way across here, so that we might deal with our adversaries. And now we're into March. Let's check how we're getting on in Hangstruss. So we're down to 2 months on food. So let's get an additional family working in the fisherman's hut. And let's get a family or 2 working over the forester's hut, for the berries, forager's hut rather. And then hopefully these beets grow nice and quickly, because that's going to be a bit of a lifeline for us here. We don't have any other source of food available to us. We may have expanded a little bit quickly, in fact, because I don't know how easy it's going to be to support this size of population with only those 2 sources of food income. So let's get right along and open up a trading post, so that perhaps we can start to sell some of our excess goods, which might give us the opportunity to buy in some additional food if we need it. What those additional goods are at the moment, looks like it's going to be planks again, unfortunately. And back over here, our tree is full. Oh dear, well, you better move it along then. So it doesn't look like we've had anyone settle over here on the side of the river just yet. But we're up to 304 in the treasury. So we're well on our way to opening up trade for our small shields. It's 480 now though, because we did open an additional trade route, but that's fine. These chaps don't appear to be doing a lot of planting. So let's set them an area to work in. $39 roof tiles, 2 clay. So it would be good to get an additional worker mining up clay. We've still got church access, so that's fine. Clothing's going to be a little while for us to build up our sheep population. Hopefully the fish will come back in nice and strong here. And we should have plenty of animal produce or fruits as our orchards come online. And our archers are still working their way into position over here to take care of the bandit camp. And we've slightly extended our food supply here, so that's good. We'll probably reduce the number of workers there to 1. And yet we can start to upgrade some properties, so let's do that while we can, because that's going to give us a little bit of passive income that we're going to need to start opening up some additional food production. Let's head back over here. And let's get someone working at the granary and someone working at the storehouse, and for the time being we're going to have to reassign these workers here because they are needed more elsewhere. We'll move their planting zone as well for when they're back. I see these small holdings are at work getting the crops in the ground, which is good for this time of year. And hopefully as well, with a few extras working on getting clay up the ground, yeah, we're starting to build up a little bit of a surplus potentially of clay. Got some wool coming in, which hopefully is being turned into yarn and then into clothes pretty quickly as well. Don't really have any sat around at the moment, but I imagine it's going out as soon as it's coming in. We're up to 62 small shields, and we're up to 300 regional wealth, so we're on our way to opening up that shield trade route. That's going to give us that additional supply of money. And let's start moving our archers into position. We'll move them down here. And once again, we'll set one further down. So we just stand their ground. And we'll set another off to one side, so that we can fire on them from more than one direction at once. It looks like we've upgraded the settlement down there as well. So we'll quickly go down and take care of that. See, there's nothing else that we can upgrade here for a moment anyway. Looking pretty good, so we're planting up there. Got food on the way. And let's open up a trade route. And it would be good to get stone, because we are going to be able to produce plenty of that here. For the time being though, I wonder if we can open up a trade route for rubble stone. We can. Let's export that. We want 40 sat around. And we've paid the wayward sons again, which isn't ideal, but we'll make sure to make use of them. We'll move that unit up. Doesn't really matter which they engage, to be honest. If they're dead set on these, then I'll just set them like so. And we'll pepper them before they even get in close. And they're being shot in the back quite soundly. And there we have it. They didn't even lose a man. They can head over there. And let's get an additional worker at the stone gathering camp, because we're going to be exporting from there. We'll get a worker in here as well. And we'll continue upgrading plots to bring us a passive income. And let's head back over here. So we've at least got a start of a market stall here to supply those on this side of the river. And we're still actually managing to turn all of our clay into roof tiles. Probably don't need 2 men working in the bloom anymore, so we'll get rid of one of them. And we'll check on the clay furnace. And Hagstrass has gone up again, so we'll pop over here. And hopefully we'll start to see some trade going on. And what we'll also do is we'll start adding some additional living space at some of these properties. So we're making good progress there, and through the iron deposit there as well. And it looks like we've got a couple of properties here we can upgrade to level 2 as well. business is booming. That's all we have time for today, friends. I hope that you found this as relaxing to watch as I found it to make. As always, I appreciate you and your feedback. Until next time, cheerio.